Welcome to Life on the Watercress Line. In this series we follow the activities of the line throughout the year. We go behind the scenes and see all aspects of the operation. The Autumn Steam Gala 2018, Part 1. It's a beautiful October morning down here at Ropley. In front of me there are two locomotives, tank engine number 5199 and Foxcote Manor, one of the old Great Western locomotives. Foxcote Manor is being fed as I speak. They're travelling light. The handbrake is off. The signal is up. The tank engine is leading. The weather forecast said it'd be foggy this morning in localised patches, and they're certainly making their own fog from their steam. British Railways Western Region 460, number 7822, Foxcote Manor. This is the very first time that a Manor-class locomotive has visited the Midhants Railway. It has been loaned courtesy of the Foxcote Manor Society. The class of 30 engines was introduced by the Great Western Railway in 1938, designed by their chief mechanical engineer Charles Collett as a modern, powerful locomotive for secondary lines such as the Cambrian main line from Shrewsbury to Aberystwyth. Such lines tended to be worked by older and not particularly efficient types. It is obvious from their external look that they are from the family of Great Western two-cylinder 460s, such as the Saints, the Halls and the Granges, though they are visibly smaller than these classes. The initial performance was disappointing, and steaming capacity was impaired by poor drafting arrangements. Initially they were barely equal to the work of the locomotives that they replaced. The problem was successfully addressed in the early 1950s under British Railways, and this almost doubled the steaming capacity. The Western region of British Railways built a further 10 manors at Swindon, and this included number 7822. Foxcote Manor was allocated new to the Oswestry shed in 1950 and spent its working life in an area roughly bounded by Chester, Aberystwyth and Shrewsbury, working and mainly stopping passenger trains, but also regularly it hauled the Cambrian Coast Express and also the Shrewsbury to Aberystwyth mail trains. On the 10th of August 1963, it double-headed the Royal train over the Cambrian Coast Line, assisted by 7819 Hinton Manor, which is now preserved on the Severn Valley Railway. The locomotive was withdrawn in late 1965 from the Shrewsbury shed and transferred to the Barry scrapyard the following year, along with a number of her sisters. One thing that's very noticeable today is that compared to the other events I've been to here on the Watercress Line, there are many, many more groups of men of a certain age here, but maybe that's because it's the Steam Gala. Lots of locomotive movements taking place at the moment. A lot of locomotives in steam today. Another tank engine has just pulled into the platform. It is about to be joined by a tender locomotive that is slowly reversing.
From us, I haven't seen them. Right, bud. Down in between, mate. Yeah, okay.
So I'm with the chairman of the charity for Foxcote Manor, who's going to tell us about his engine.
Yeah, the engine was built in 1950. It was built at Swindon, British Railways Western Region. It ran until 1965 when it was sent to Woodham Scrapyard. The society was formed in 1972 with the idea of saving an engine. They weren't sure which one to start with, but they opted for Foxcote in the end, which had a tender, and it was restored firstly at Oswestry from 1975 to 1985, and then it went to Llangollen and completed the restoration in 1988. And it's run for 23 of the last 30 years, and we're hoping to do a few more. Very good. Looks like we're off.
Thank you very much. Great Western Railway Class 5101 262T number 5199 is welcomed with thanks to the Llangollen Railway, its home base. The class was introduced in 1929 by Charles Collett, Chief Mechanical Engineer of the Great Western Railway. The first 50 were rebuilds of Class 3100, which had been designed by Collett's predecessor, George Jackson Churchward. The locos and the similar classes 6100 and 8100 were designed mainly for suburban and mainline stopping trains. These require brisk acceleration between often closely spaced stations. Their duties could also include banking, mainline piloting and freight, and they were amongst the most successful of Great Western locomotive types. The three classes numbered more than 200 locomotives in total, and they were known as large prairies, the name prairie coming from the United States, where it is used to identify locomotives of the 262 wheel arrangement. 5199 was allocated new to Tyseley in 1934 and spent the bulk of its working life allocated to West Midland sheds before moving to Gloucester Horton Road for its last 2 years of service prior to being withdrawn in 1963. It spent 22 years at Woodham's Barry Scrapyard prior to rescue and the start of a long and slow restoration to working order. The locomotive finally steamed again in 2003 at Llangollen, which is her usual base. I'm now at Medstead and Four Marks. I've travelled up here on the first up train of the morning. I say up because it's going towards London. Well, it's going towards Alton, which is on the way to London. Whilst we've been waiting here for the train to leave, the down train to Alresford has also arrived. Signals raised. The guard has blown his whistle. Time for the trains to depart. The Wagon Group have got a stall here on Medstead and Four Marks Station, selling trucks, carriages, you name it, raising money. And I'm with Richard Hammett, who's going to say a few words.
Well, the main purpose, as we just said, is to raise some money for the restoration of the wagons which run on the Mid-Hants Railway. We operate on the basis of mainly donations from interested railway model enthusiasts. Some of our stock is quite old. probably goes back to the days of Triang and Hornby 00. In contrast with that, we have limited edition models of our own, which we commission on an annual basis, quite often reflecting the local breweries and other businesses that were around in the days of the Southern region, Southern Railway rather. Apart from that, we sometimes sell, we quite often sell a variety of books at various prices. Again, all usually donations. Additional interest that we offer on gala days such as this is to do yard tours around Medstead Yard, where people can see the amount of restoration that goes on. Sometimes there's more items in there than others. Currently we've got what's known as a BY Express passenger goods van combined with a brake compartment. That's been here for about 7 years, and it's been undergoing restoration for most of that time via primarily just 2 dedicated volunteers. Recently, although we've now started to recover the roof, which has meant that most of the Medstead volunteers are now involved with that for the next couple of weeks.
Well, that was great, thank you very much. Having seen the very interesting exhibition on goods traffic, I'm now just about to take the train back to Ropley, where most of today's activity is taking place. A lot of people getting on and off the train here at Medstead and Four Marks. This podcast is published by the Mr. T Podcast Studio.